On today's show, the LA Clippers continue their winning ways against the Memphis Grizzlies, going 3-0 against them on the season with another win at Intuit Dome and another virtuoso performance from James Harden. What have the last 8 wins and the 5 straight wins said about this Clippers team heading into the home stretch? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA in my 20th season as a Clipper fan, 5 years covering the Clippers on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and 3 years right here on Locked On Clippers. You can subscribe to both channels on YouTube, and of course, you can listen to Locked On Clippers wherever you get your podcast. We also have a newsletter, a Locked On Clippers daily newsletter, written by yours truly. Sign up for that at lockedondaily.com. Now, the LA Clippers, your LA Clippers, have now won 8 out of our last 9 games. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the recent win against the Grizzlies on, I believe it was Friday night. I could not attend due to an All-Star game I was coaching, but my All-Star season is over, sadly, and I will be at the game on Sunday night against the Thunder, which hopefully you are listening to this on the way to the game or something along those lines, or before the game. We got the win. So we're going to be talking about James Harden's performance, the Kawhi Leonard watch, and how the Big Four looked as Norman Powell started to get more minutes. 128-108 is the final score at the Intuit Dome. The Clippers, 25-10 at home with only 6 games left. Oh, my God. That's so few. Hopefully we get more in the playoffs, though, but only 6 more games at Intuit Dome. So if I were to go to every game the rest of the season, I would go to 26 games. I might be going every game. We'll see. But I will not be equaling my high of last year's 29 regular season games out of 41. So we're still in that quest next season for that 30. I don't think it'll be easier for me as the years go on to get to 30 games, but we'll see. But the Clippers, 25-10 home record is fantastic. I saw that our opposing free throw percentage has gone to 3rd now at Intuit Dome around the league in terms of, road or what opposing teams shoot at their home arena for their free throws. We're 3rd now in the league with opposing, so shout out to the swell. Guys, let me just say this before I get into the basketball stuff with James Harden, which I'm going to start by talking about. The wall is what you're seeing on TV and what you're hearing on TV, and by the way, it sounded great. Like, it sounds so much better than in Staples Center for us. It's just not even close. By the way, another attendance that's listed as a sellout on ESPN. So the Clippers are starting to sell out. It seems like people are starting to buy these tickets, starting to figure out what the Intuit Dome's about. But I'll tell you what really changes things is Kawhi. He's a real game changer in terms of tickets and ticket sales. But the wall that you're hearing on TV and you're seeing is really just the swell, the standing only section right behind the basket, the center of the wall where everybody is, chanting and stuff. The rest of the wall has been actually pretty empty a lot of the season, and I've sat in other sections of the wall in certain games, like before I was in the swell, and it's no different than being at a regular Clipper game at Staples Center where like 3 people in the section care. Seriously. Everybody else is just quiet. There's some seats empty. Well, but it probably has changed as the season's gone on, I'd assume. But the point is that the swell is really where everybody's got to give people credit. The wall right now is a little too broad, in my opinion. Shout out to the swell. I'll be there tonight. Now, James Harden's been insane lately. Just absolutely insane. I keep mentioning this because I think it's more of a testament to how great this season has been for him, that last season around this time was the time where James was sputtering a little bit, where he was starting to get fatigued. And when you look at the way he's played in the month of March this year, and this one, another 30-point game, and he had it through 3 quarters of play. I mean, what a performance to go along with 9 assists, 4 boards, 2 blocks and 2 steals. So I thought this was one of his better defensive games in a couple of games in a while. Really active hands, was able to, strip Jaren Jackson Jr. in the post and show that resistance that we've always seen from him over the course of his career. Even when his defensive criticisms have been at an all-time high throughout the course of his career, he's always been a good post defender, and he has great hands. And I honestly have said this about James since he's been a Clipper. Fundamentally, I don't think he's bad defensively. I just don't think he puts in enough effort a lot of times. And it starts with just literally bending your knees. Like, he's always standing up straight and slapping down, but he's actually a sharp defender, and he clearly talks on defense because he's not at fault for too many defensive breakdowns usually, or miscommunications, I should say. So good defensive game from him. Just a great overall game from him. The efficiency is really what stands out because we've seen some really great James Harden games where he's filling up the stat sheet, but efficiency, he hasn't been there this season, just given all the circumstances of him getting guarded by the best defender, and he's had to carry such a load, and he's only missed 3 games. 8 for 14 from the field in this game, 5 for 10 from 3. I mean, a lot changes when James is hitting that step back 3 ball. I mean, he started out with a late shot clock 3 and then a 4-point play in this one to kind of get him going. And so his onslaught began in the first quarter, but I thought in the second quarter, I mean, he got really hot from 3 late in it. And I thought he was the best player in the first half, but overall, just the best player in the game for the Clippers. And the basketball that he's playing right now, I mean, it's pretty remarkable, honestly. Longevity, obviously, in this era is going to be different. You're going to have a lot more guys, and you're starting to see it now, having really long careers and really long primes, or the ability to be a star player for a very long time. And a lot of that is modern medicine and the way we go about things now. Load management is a thing, although not as much for someone like James. But for example, I'm pretty sure one of the games he missed, it wasn't even that he was hurt. It was literally like we were trying to give him a rest, and everybody was so okay with it because of what he has done. But, we just didn't do that back in the day. Like someone like Michael Jordan playing 82 games in some of the seasons that he did when, they probably had clinched the 1 seed. That probably wasn't necessarily good for his body. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to see. It's not going to – and this is not to take away from the LeBrons and the Kevin Durants and the James Hardens and the Steph Currys, but you're going to see a lot of guys. Even someone like Paul George has been good for a while. You know what I mean? CP3, you're going to start seeing more of that, in my opinion, with just the way that we've moved towards this culture of injury prevention and obviously the modern medicine, that we're going to have guys, while we do feel like there's more injuries or more guys missing games in the short term, long term, I think they're going to have longer primes. I think Steph Curry talked about that on this Hot Wings episode he had one time. But St. James, as Brian Seaman is calling him now, has been on a tear. And just to make it more clear, 27 points a game in the month of March, 44% from the field, 37% from 3, and 84.5% from the line. That's to go along with 6 boards and 10 assists if you round up. 27, 6, and 10. And if you want to keep rounding up, 1 block and 2 steals a game. I honestly believe, and in that month, we have gone 9 and 3. 9 and 3 so far. So, and it really all began with the 50-point game against Detroit. Like, he had rough games against the Lakers, some of his roughest, and then was not overall good in terms of shooting the ball and closing the game against Phoenix, even though he had 21 and 15. But it started with that game I was at against the Pistons. You can catch a vlog of that game on my channel. The highest scoring game I've ever seen live. It really changed things. So the Pistons had been playing really good basketball. Then we beat the Knicks. He had 27. He had 29 against the Kings, 25 in the loss to the Pels, 24 at Miami, 25 at Atlanta, 31, 22, and 30 in these last 3 games at home that we've won. I mean, we've won 8 out of our last 9 games and 5 straight games. Sorry, we're 8 and 3 in the month. I'm sorry, my math was off there. So he's been unbelievable. I think he can he can have a case for player of the month, truthfully. Because last month, he was averaging 21 and 8. I'm sorry, no, that was the playoffs I was looking at. Let's see. In the month of March last year, 15 points on 40, 33, 87.5 shooting splits in that month. 15 points. Still averaged 9.5 assists. But that is just nowhere near the same level of production. So James Harden, third quarter to me was where he really just asserted himself to the point where it looked like we were going to run away with it. He hit a three. He had a mid-range in the corner, just doing it all. 12 points in the third for James. He was the man in this one. They started out with Scottie Pippen Jr. guarding him because Jalen Wells was on Kawhi. So see now, Jalen Wells had a really good game the first time that we played them guarding James. But now we got to worry about Kawhi. So it makes things easier for James. So that is the whole threat of playing against the Clippers with Harden and with Kawhi. No Ja Morant yet again. No Brandon Clark. I think Ja Morant played against us once last year and he got injured. But besides that, he has not played a game against the Clippers at home since like the opening game of the 2021-22 season. He always is out against the Clippers at home. But anyway, coming up, going to be looking at another segment of Kawhi Watch. I got to tell you a little something about Monarch money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, talking about the Clippers, 128-108 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. We are now 3-0 against the Grizz this season, and I love to see that, but I kind of want them to move up in the standings so that we have a chance of playing them in the playoffs, because I honestly believe we would beat them, and we need that round 3 against them after 2012 and 2013. My blood is still boiling from those years, Clipper Nation. Now, let's talk about Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Watch in general. To start this game, we had Kawhi Leonard on Scottie Pippen Jr., Zoo on Jaren Jackson Jr., and by the way, he got clamped. I mean, he could not hit shots on the outside in this one, 3 for 9 from 3, but he was 6 for 15 from 2, and a lot of that was Ivica Zubac and James Harden. James Harden more so in the post, Ivica Zubac really locking down on the interior. I mean, it's just, there's not enough words to say about the way Zoo is playing. He's outplaying all-stars consistently right now at the big position, whether it be guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. or Bam Adebayo, or this would be a great test for him on Sunday night against Chet Holmgren. Somebody who, if he plays, somebody who stretches the floor a bit, kind of exposes all the flaws in Ivica Zubac's game, his lack of speed. We'll see. But if Zubac can dominate OKC on the interior and make Chet Holmgren irrelevant and skinny and look small the way Anthony Davis sometimes made him look with the Lakers, then I think oh man, not only is Zoo starting to really turn that corner where he might be an all-star next year, OKC better be careful. Okay, that's a lot. Maybe that's pushing it a bit. But you might not want to see us though, OKC. You might not want to see us because our experience is way greater than yours. Anyway, Chris Dunn on Desmond Bane, Norman Powell on Jalen Wells, James Harden on Santi Aldama, and on their end, Scottie Pippen Jr. on James Harden, Jalen Wells on Kawhi Leonard, Desmond Bane on Norman Powell, Santi Aldama on Zubac, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on Chris Dunn. So I thought this was an interesting strategy that they used to try to have Santi Aldama in drop coverage, but really you have Jaren Jackson Jr. pulling over from the weak side, cheating off of Chris Dunn in the corner to be a rim protector no matter what, and forcing Harden and Kawhi or whoever it may be to kick it out to Chris Dunn for three. So they were giving him threes early on in the game, and he made 2 of them in the first quarter. Now, when I talk about the first quarter, from my eye test, it did not feel like we started the game trying to get Kawhi going really at all. Now, looking at the box score, I'm about to check if it confirms my eye test because it felt like he barely shot. He didn't shoot once. Okay, there you go. He didn't shoot once. So again, playing through Kawhi, he got 1 assist, but playing through Kawhi has not really been a thing starting games, and I'm starting to think it might be intentional. By the way, still no Ty Lue in this game, and also no Jeff Van Gundy. Ty with a bad back. Jeff Van Gundy, they said he's going to miss a couple of games. And I think it's really funny how people are trying to push an agenda. And I see the comments on Locked On and on social media. The Ty Lue haters are acting like Brian Shaw's pulling all these strings, doing all these things. Look, he made a nice move and again, it's not just Brian Shaw. We put so much on head coaches, guys. The more I'm getting into the coaching sphere and talking to people that are in the basketball world, the more I realize that, college and the NBA, so much is about your assistant coaches. And the coaching staffs. These people put in a lot of hard work to make these decisions. So Brian Shaw getting all the credit for all this stuff. Like, I like Brian Shaw. Like, he's an all-time role player, but an NBA champion. I respect that. But like, this guy coached Denver and everybody thought he was a trash coach because he didn't have great players and they were in a good situation. Like, it's a lot of it's about the players. The thing that was really a very nice move by the staff, though, was to put Bogey in to start the second half to give us more shooting. Because in the first half, we did score 60 points, but we were down 66-60, and we trailed majority of the first half. We really did. That third quarter where James Harden went off is kind of what turned things around, but it was also our defense. Our defense really turned around. And a lot of it was like they were shooting insanely well in the first quarter. And by the way, Chris Dunn got 5 3-point attempts. He got more 3-point attempts in the first quarter than any other Clipper had shots. So they were letting him shoot it. But he was 2 for 5 in that first quarter. So we'll take those percentages, 40%, 6 points off of it. But James played the whole first. And the first quarter, when we play with James the entire time, we really run things through him. That seems like it's been our thing. But also, Norman Powell in this game looked a lot more aggressive off rip. He played 27 minutes in this game, so much closer to his normal, what he averages. Let's see what he averages. I think around 30, 32. So it's still 5 minutes below his average. But now that Bogey's playing so well, does it make Norman Powell's he's leading scorer, confirmed, no question in our minds as fans and the coaching staff that he's going to close every single game? Like, what if Bogey's got it going on? Like, would we be too weak defensively if we had Bogey, Norm, and Harden? Right? We kind of need one guy like a Derek Jones or a Chris Dunn, in my opinion. Preferably Derek or Nico, somebody that's true point of attack besides Kawhi. So we can, have Kawhi for the offensive things. But I think Norman Powell is still that guy. Make no mistake. I still think Norman Powell is that guy that's going to be it's going to be James Harden. The big four is going to close. It's just a matter of who's closing with them. Is it going to be Chris? Is it going to be Bogey? Is it going to be Nico? Is it going to be Derek? I don't know. But they started Bogey in the beginning of the second half instead of Chris Dunn. And, it was raining. I'm pretty sure we made our first 8 shots to begin the third quarter. And Kawhi really started to hit to begin the third quarter. And he was getting into the paint with his handle like old Kawhi again. Those non-rim paint shots we talked about, those seem like they're starting to fall for him as we're going on. The 3-ball, we said let's pay attention to his 3-ball. 1 for 3. He didn't actually shoot many of them, so still keeping an eye on that. That's been a little slow in the month of March for him. But the way he kind of grew into this game, and it looks like we're trying to just save his legs for the second half more than anything. But it really starts in the second quarter because he plays the entire second quarter. That's been a theme with our rotations. So in the second quarter, he played the entire thing. So it's nice to see Kawhi playing full quarters and had 9 points on 4 for 7 shooting. So he got going there. And then he picked up right where he left off in that third quarter with 7 points right there and played 8 minutes of it. And thankfully, we were pulling away, so we didn't need him to play the whole fourth. He had 7 in that quarter. So outside that scoreless first quarter, I mean, he was very active in the game. Very active in the game. So, really, really, really great stuff. 8 for 8 to start the third, and Kawhi, bogey, huge reasons why. So, I mean, Kawhi Leonard finished with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, a nice double-double right there, on 75% shooting from the field, 9 for 12, 1 for 3 from deep, 4 of 4 from the foul line. Ladies and gentlemen, in 37 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, he is coming. He is starting to arrive. He's passing the tests. We just need every bit of these last 12 games. And I know he's not going to play all of them, but for him to continue to play like this. Because if he's going to the playoffs like this, and, usually his knee tires out months later down the line, ladies and gentlemen, beware. Clippers ended up shooting 58% from the field in this game, 50 from 3. That third quarter, though, we shot 65% from the field and 62.5% from 3. I mean, we just went crazy. And I think the main reason why they were in the game, to be honest with you, in the beginning, in the first half, was because they were just lights out from 3 in the first half. Like Luke Kennard, we were leaving him open a lot, though, and I love Luke Kennard. I don't know how we're leaving him open. But they shot 48% from the field and 42 from 3. We still shot better than them, but we had turnovers. We had 8 turnovers, and they had 21 points off our turnovers in that first half. That's really what was keeping them in it. But it was nice to see Norman Powell getting into the paint. But the main takeaway is that Kawhi Leonard continues to trend in the right direction, getting into the paint, getting to his spots, looking better with his handle, looking like he's able to do more. It is great to see. Double-double for Kawhi. Coming up, though, we're going to talk about the Big Four as a whole and the rest of the fellas heading into this game against the Thunder. All right. Clippers winning it 128-108 over the Memphis Grizzlies. Now won 8 out of our last 9 games and 5 straight. It's really great, the form that we're in right now. Looking at the story of this game, we trailed. We got outscored in both the first and second quarter. But in the third quarter, we outscored the Grizzlies 36-16. And the thing is, Memphis plays a really interesting offense where they don't set as many screens as most NBA teams. They just try to drive and kick and relocate and pass. And it's been very entertaining, but it's not been great for Ja. However, their record when they have Ja was, I believe, 28-15. So they're still a much better team when he plays. And their offense, just, you don't have the shot creation without him. It's Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson. Desmond Bane doesn't really have that wiggle to his game like that. Space creation, that kind of thing. He's not the quickest, but he's a fantastic shooter and he's strong. And he can pull up off the dribble, but I wouldn't call Desmond Bane a great isolation guy. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., he's good in the post, but I don't know. He looked like he was nothing against the Ivica Zubac and crew. They shot 29% from the field in the third quarter and 33% from 3. And a lot of that has to do with our defense, but Bogey, he came in and was just raining. But talking about the Big Four, James Harden, already talked about him, player of the game for me. Kawhi Leonard, slowly but surely starting to return back to that guy. When you look at Kawhi overall, and I talked about, I need 4 or 5 games of him having 25 or more, something like that. Well, he's averaging 20 on the season, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. So he's gonna end up probably averaging 20-plus points this season overall, which is still amazing considering all of this. But he's averaging 25 points per game in the month of March on 52, 39, 78 splits. If he averages 25 points per game in the playoffs on those splits, you might need 30, though, in the playoffs. That's the thing. The thing about the playoffs is you got to get 30, even if it's not as efficient. You know what I'm saying? If I'm taking 20, I'm not taking 25 points on 52% over 30 points on 48% in the playoffs. Hell no. We need every point we can get. We need 30. But in terms of Norman Powell, this was, I think, his best game since the All-Star break. When you look at his game log, I talked about, he has not scored over 11 points since the All-Star break. This was his highest scoring game. He had 14 points. He also played the most minutes. He shot 50% from the field, 4 for 8, and 1 for 2 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. So 14 points, 3 rebounds. Once we get it back to his normal stat line of like 20 points and 3 rebounds, we'll be good to go. So trending in the right direction. And I keep talking about the key thing for us as fans to see and for everybody to see is now that Kawhi is starting to get back into his groove, James Harden and Ivica Zubac playing like their best ball of the season, the last domino is Norman Powell. How can we get all 4 of these guys healthy and playing their best basketball collectively at one time? And what ceiling is that? What ceiling does that create for this team? Well, this was as close as we're getting. And what we're starting to see? Our offense is really good when we have these kind of players. It makes things so much easier when James Harden does not have to get the best perimeter defender. When you have 4 guys that do entirely different things. You have a low post specialist. You have a perimeter pick and roll god that can ISO on anybody. You have Kawhi Leonard, who's one of the best scorers, best small forwards, go get a bucket, mid-post guys in the history of the game and at the wing position. And then you have Norm, who's mainly off the catch, on the move, quick, doesn't dribble much, plays off other guys kind of player. It all meshes very well, and you got 128 points worth of it in this game. And we've been a top 3 offense heading into this game for the last 10 games in the NBA, around the league. Our defense showed itself in that third quarter, 16 points. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard in on the act. Zubac leading the way. How about Zubac? How about another double-double effortlessly for him? 17 and 10 on 8 for 14 shooting. It's become like just normal. It's every game for him. Every game. 1 assist only. And they were double-teaming him so much, but a lot of it was, they were rotating on that first pass, and it creates that secondary swing, those hockey assists. So Zoo, he's starting to get star-level respect from other teams. It's amazing seeing what he's been doing this season. Another double-double for Zoo. The big 4. It's really starting to be a thing. The last time, Zubac's double-double streak ended against Atlanta. He had 18 and 6. But he's been playing such great ball. Clippers win this one 128-108. 58-50, 81 shooting splits as a team. Only turned the ball over 5 times in that second half. Talked about Kawhi with 23 and 10. Talked about Zubac with 17 and 10. James Harden with 34 and 9. 30 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Norm with his highest scoring game since the All-Star break with 14. Chris Dunn ends with 11. So all 5 starters in double figures for us. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, just 1 turnover on 4 for 8 shooting and 3 for 7 from 3 from Chris Dunn. I always say if he's making the 3 ball, one of the best role players in the league. Then you off the bench we didn't go with Eubanks. We went with small ball Ben Simmons. We had Ben Simmons with 13 minutes. Had 0 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a turnover on 0 for 1 shooting. I just don't really have much to say. I didn't notice much, but I prefer the small balls lineups to the Eubanks minutes against good opposition. Nicholas Batum played 12 minutes, had 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. So just a little bit of everything from Nico off the bench on 2 for 4 shooting, and not all those shots were threes. He was 1 for 3 from deep. I thought he was very good as usual. And then Amir Coffey, I like that he got less minutes. I wonder if that's a Brian Shaw thing or a coaching staff thing, and that's going to be a thing going forward. But 6 points for Amir, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. And that's nothing against Amir like that. I just think he was getting a few too many minutes. But shot 50 from the field, 50 from the three-point line, and 50 from the foul line, Amir Coffey. And then you've got Derrick Jones Jr., who played 18 minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 2 for 4 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3. The guy just helps you win games. He just helps you win games. Had a beautiful drive and dunk in this game as well. Then Bogey, he's literally on a heater. And again, I'm going to say it. He's the X factor. When he plays well, we win. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers on 6 for 9 shooting, 4 of 5 from 3. The guy's just lights out right now, scoring in every way, shape, or form, and playing off of our guys so well. That trade looks like a steal. And I love Terrence Mann, but he's not better than this. He's not. Bogey's really good. Bogey. He's out here. This is the best team he's ever been on, by the way. Ever been on. Sorry, 2021 Hawks. This team is better, in my opinion. We just play in a better conference, but it's like he's playing like insanely well right now. I genuinely believe that every game that he has played well in, we've won. Every single one. The only one you can argue is that Phoenix game. He was 5 for 7. So maybe besides the Phoenix game. But every other game, we win when he plays well. And when he hasn't played well, we don't really win. Because in the New Orleans game, our last loss, he was 3 for 9. And in the games before that, before the Phoenix game, he was terrible against the Lakers. He shot a combined 6 for 24 in those 2 games against the Lakers. And he was 6 for 19 at Detroit, 4 for 13 at Indiana. I mean, he's turned up. He has turned up. He's averaging 14 points on 56, 55, 100 splits this month. 56, 55, 100 splits. Come on, son. Bogey. Are you kidding me? He's like hooping. And by the way, as a Clipper, let's see what his stats are as a Clipper now, shooting splits wise. 49, 42, 85. 49, 42, 85. We will take it. We will take it. So this is going to be a big test tonight against OKC. Jalen Williams not playing. I think we're going to have 4 of the 6 best players on the court. Let's go get it done. This would be a huge statement. Huge to beat OKC. Because it's just hard to beat that team this season. They've only lost 12 times. Now, in terms of the standings, we're now in 7th over the Timberwolves. They're 41-31. We're 40-30. We want that 7th seed. I would love to, if it ended right now the way it is, this would be amazing. You have OKC and the Lakers set to match up in round 2, so then one of them can beat each other up. And then we get to play, if we beat Minnesota, and it's imperative that we would beat Minnesota at Intuit Dome, need to. I mean, it's so important. We get to play Houston in the first round as opposed to OKC. I mean, it's, with all due respect, it's not like Houston hasn't owned us this season. They have. But if you're asking me who I want to play, yes. Yes, a young team with no experience, yes. When the game slows down, yes. Over OKC, absolutely. That would, and then in the second side of the bracket, we have Denver. I would rather play, I think our matchup with Denver is better than the Lakers now. And again, the fan aspect of it really can't be ignored. The real home games that Intuit with 100, like 90+% are fans as opposed to the Lakers. I'm sorry, like that helps our chances for me. So a Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, I mean, I'd have to have no problem with that. I mean, that would just be epic basketball, but we're getting completely out of hand right now. We need to just make it to the playoffs and preferably take over the Warriors. We're only half a game behind them now. So if we win tonight against OKC, 41-30, we got the same record as the Warriors. And guess who owns that tiebreaker? Us. So it's a big game tonight. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a vlog of the game will be out on Monday. And of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And of course, hit the notification bell to try to get us to 7,000 subscribers before the start of the playoffs, because we're going to be in them. And you can listen wherever you get your podcast and sign up to the Locked On Clippers newsletter at lockedondaily.com. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.